We're like the Logan Kardashians.
Kimberly, Kerry, was it? And
Kelly and Kylie. Oh.
But that gets confusing in the family, does it?
We loved it when we were growing up. And then we had 2 dogs called Puppy and Penny. And so then the dog's name, she'd go, Penny, Kimberly, Kylie, Puppy.
Hey, I'm Ange.
And I'm Beck.
And we are the Gold Diggers. Because we believe there's gold found in everyone.
Everyone is unique, interesting and exciting with a great story to share.
And we aim to find it.
The question is, can we rise to the challenge and strike gold?
I need you're my sugar.
So on today's podcast, we had local GP, Kimberly Harper. It was great having her on the show, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I loved seeing somebody that just comes to life when they talk about what they do.
She's passionate about her job, and I love how she was talking about how we should have a relationship with the GP rather than having lots of GPs. Have one that gets to know you.
Yes, and she does that so beautifully. It's a really interesting podcast. Talks a lot about her life, her upbringing, some of the trauma that she's had, but really has such a lovely, well-balanced life and gives some great tips into how we can do that.
And she's a bit like you, straight from the UK.
She is.
Honey, you're my sugar.
So this is how it works. One of us knows who the mystery guest is and the other one doesn't. And this week it's Angela's turn to meet our mystery guest, Kimberly Harper.
I'm looking forward to meeting her. Does she go by Kim, Kimberly?
Kimberly, she likes to use...
The full name?
Yes,
right,
because
okay.
she was born in the UK.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one hint
Great,
for you.
thank
I'll tell
you.
2 other things about her.
Yeah.
She's married with 2 teenage children. And the third fact is I taught her children how to play piano. And I think you might have met her at one of the concerts.
Okay, so Kimberly.
Kimberly.
Yep, beautiful. All
Shall
right,
we
let's bring her in.
Let's bring her in. Welcome to the show, Kimberly.
Hey, woo! Welcome, Kimberly. It's a bit of a daunting moment, isn't it, walking into the studio? So welcome, Kimberly. It's really nice to meet you.
Thank you.
I understand we've met before. Or maybe I do recognise you, actually, because Beck told me that she teaches your daughter, is it, piano?
Yes.
Yes, and so my son Dara has also had piano lessons.
Yes.
With Beck, and
We
I know
sat in
there's
the
been
audience
because there's
together.
been a few concerts where at the end of every year, don't you? You do like this concert and all the kids showcase there. It's been a few years since Dara's been there, though.
Well, I remember all the other kids were playing their sort of nursery rhymes and songs, and Dara was playing an amazing professional piece.
Yes, probably.
And he was 3 feet taller than all the other kids. as well.
I know. I see these photos that you post at the end. Like you take a photo of all your students, and they're all like 11,
Children.
12, 13, and Dara's was 16, and he's so tall.
Towers above.
So no wonder you remember him, because he stands out quite a lot.
Yeah.
So Becca's told me that you were born in the UK, or you're from the UK, married, 2 children, and one of them plays piano. So,
Both of them learnt piano.
oh, both of them did.
Yes, but-
Okay. So let's go back to UK. Were you born there, and how long were you living in the UK for?
Okay, so my mum's Australian and Dad is English, and they met in New Zealand, and Dad went back to the UK, and Mum followed him there.
Okay.
And so the 3 of us were born. I've got an older sister and a younger sister, and we were born in East London, and we lived there till I was about 8. And Mum wanted to raise us in Australia, and Dad, even though he said, yeah, next year, love, I don't think he was ever going to go.
So he stayed in...
He stayed. It was actually quite a violent home situation we lived in.
Wow.
So it was probably for the best that Mum left and took the 3 of us back to Australia. And she had the support of her family as well.
Okay.
So,
And where did you come in, your siblings?
I was second.
Okay. So that would have been very traumatic as an 8-year-old. You're moving country, but then also your parents are separating as well.
Yeah, well, we didn't know that our parents were separating, and I don't think they planned that. I think Mum knew that she had to get away because Dad was never violent towards us, but had just started to show some signs of that towards my older sister. And I think that was her incentive to think, right, I just got to go. And she said, you can come with me. She thought things might be better for the family if we all lived in Australia. And, I mean, if she had her siblings and all her parents around. So Dad came with us for the first 6 weeks and then went back to sell the house, but
Never returned.
Really. He came for a couple of visits, but he was one of those, I'm gonna, but it didn't eventuate. So I think in hindsight, so she was, one thing I noticed after he went back, she was a lot lighter with him not around because there wasn't that threat all the time. But yeah, it was very traumatic. I missed my dad a lot, despite how he was.
Were you understanding of what was happening at that time? Were you aware that
we thought Dad was coming back? I don't know. It was something that we grew up with, and my sisters and I, my older sister in particular, my younger sister, I think she was 3 years younger than me, so I don't think she remembers much of it. But we remember when Mum couldn't afford a haircut, so he didn't give her enough money to have a haircut. So she said to my older sister, I need you to trim my hair. And she had this long blonde hair that my dad loved. And my sister trimmed it at an angle. Oh. So we had to then trim it shorter to make it straight. And I remember all of us thinking, don't let Dad see. He'll be really angry.
Wow.
And we knew that there was a threat there if he saw Mum's hair that was, it was still very long, and we remember standing at the top of the stairs saying, no, you say it. And one of us would eventually go, leave Mum alone. And then we'd run away to our bedroom.
Wow. So you were very aware of like the fear and intimidation of it.
I was, but I guess like a kid, you don't think my dad abuses my mum, I need to move away. You just think, I love my dad still.
Yeah.
And I missed him a lot. I don't remember this, but Mum said that I used to cry every night. The other two didn't. I guess Kylie was too young. Kelly probably already knew that it was good to have him not in the picture. But I missed him so much. And I guess that also the trauma of starting a new Australian school, which was, I invented an alter ego because they used to tease me for my posh accent. So I called myself Super Pom. And that seemed to sort of stick and got me through. And
it's funny because my son was 8 when he moved over here, and he had the same experience in school that they would rib him a little bit about his accent. Yeah. And one phrase he would say in particular, they pulled out, and he still says it now, and it's a little bit chilly. But it's something that he remembered. It was all about the accent. So settling in, obviously, that was quite challenging for you then, because there would have been a lot of emotions happening for you in terms of family, and then trying to settle in, get a whole new friendship group and that. Do you feel that season in your life has even impacted you as an adult?
Yeah, I think I look at my children now, and they've been born and raised. Well, my son was born in the UK, and we moved here when he was 1. But they've had the same house, the same school. Everything is very stable and secure, and that's how I've always wanted it to be for them, because I don't want them. I felt when we came over, I just missed. We went to a Catholic school because my cousin went to a Catholic school, so we went there for a year or two until Mum was able to move to a different suburb. So I'd missed, all the kids had just done their Holy Communion, and so all the kids had their white dresses, everyone ate Vegemite, so I felt like I didn't really have an identity. Like, was I an Aussie kid? Yeah. Or was I an English kid? And I wanted my kids to have that absolute security of knowing who they are, where they live.
So you moved over here when you were 8. You've obviously moved back to the UK then.
Well, I met an English guy in my mid-20s.
Okay.
So
did you meet him here?
We met here. We met at the Gold Coast Hospital Emergency Department, actually. And
as an inpatient or as a medical?
We were both working there.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and then he was here for 6 months with his brother to have a bit of a party time before he got down to some serious study. And we met, and I thought to myself, I really want to go travelling and do some, work for a bit, travel for a bit, work for a bit. So it was an extra added bonus that he was going to be there. So I moved over a few months after he left. And then we lived there for a couple of years, got married, and then moved back to Australia, and moved back to England, and then moved back to Australia, and now we're in Australia.
Okay, so you've been backwards and forth 3 times.
Yeah.
What is it that keeps drawing you back? Can't be the weather, surely.
Well, I think when we got married in England, I had to do my general practice exams and study, and that was something I had to do in Australia. So we moved back so I could complete that, do my exams, and then we moved back to England because he at the time was doing psychiatry. He's not a psychiatrist now because he changed, but then he had to do his psychiatry exams, and then we moved back to Australia again. Did we? So I can't actually have. I think so I could work as a GP, and then we moved back so he could do his English GP exams, and then our son was born, and because we both I did my degree here, so all my doctor studies needed to be here, and same for him in England. So I think that's probably what made us move back and forth, and we loved it. We just loved adventure and doing something different. But when my son was 1, we thought, okay, we have to settle in a country because he needs to be stable in a country.
Yeah,
and we chose Australia because we talked about what we wanted our kids to have growing up. And I remember moving from England in cold East London and Australia. We lived in Woodridge in Logan, which is quite a poor area. And my aunt lived in a housing commission house with, like just the basic, cheapest, scummiest house. But we thought it was paradise because we had a trampoline in the backyard. We used to hold the hose over each other while we jumped on the trampoline, go to the park, go to the beach, and it was paradise. And we just thought, we'll let our kids have that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, it does seem to have a very different lifestyle for very little over here, isn't it, in comparison to UK? And I think that's obviously because of the weather mainly.
Yeah.
And so that's what got you into becoming a GP.
Well, when I graduated, every junior doctor does a bit of a tour of duty through all the different kinds of, you go through the emergency department, you do some surgery, you do some general medical work, and then you make a decision about what specialty you'd like to do. And I didn't really know, so I ended up working in emergency for quite a while, and I loved it, and I thought I was going to do emergency medicine. And then I realised the bit that I liked wasn't the trauma or the acute, the heart attacks coming in. It was the chatting to the more, like the people who weren't as unwell. And I wanted to follow them up, and I never got to. So I thought, maybe I should be a GP. And I love it. I'm in the perfect job for...
I can imagine you'd be so good at that.
That's so great to find something you just absolutely love.
Yeah, I do.
I couldn't think of something. To me, working in emergency, I don't think I'd be able to handle the stress and the pressure of it. Did you feel like stressed and in those environments? Yeah, I did,
because you never know. And if it's quiet and you think, we'll have a cup of tea together, and you don't know because it could change at any moment.
Yeah.
Did your husband have to do, did you both have to do extra study to be able to practice in both England and Australia, or is it recognised in both countries?
So he had to do, I can't remember actually. I didn't do any further study there, but I couldn't work as a GP, so I just used to do locum jobs wherever they needed a doctor.
Yeah.
And you can pretty much do anything.
Yeah.
And for him, he had to get his general practice because he worked as a GP over here a bit. He didn't have to sit any more exams, I don't think. I can't even
So it's fairly well
remember.
recognised between England
It
and
is.
Australia.
Not now,
Yeah.
but back then
it was. Yeah.
So you met your husband in the UK. What was it that drew you to him?
Well, we met in Australia. He had come out
And
with
but
his
then you
brother.
went back to the UK.
That's right.
So what was it that you thought, oh, he's the one? Like, what's it stood out about him?
It's really shallow.
Usually is.
It was the accent, wasn't it?
No, I didn't even hear him speak. So I'd come out of a bad ending of a relationship, and so I'd been single for a few months, and I was thinking, no, I'm just gonna be single and have a great time. And I remember I was doing something at a bench, and I looked down, and he was leaning against the photocopier, and I could see his eyelashes side on, and they were really long.
Wow.
And I thought,
I was not expecting that.
that guy. And yeah, I hadn't seen him before, and I thought, he looks really good.
Those long eyelashes, they get you every time.
And he was tall, and
He just fluttered his eyelashes at her.
I
Yeah.
don't think he even looked at me.
No.
And then I think it was a couple of nights later, my housemate at the time, I was living with these two guys who were also working at the hospital. I finished a shift at 11 p.m. and my housemate said, "Oh, Kimberly, you got to come out. It's going to be great. We're going to Billy's Beach House," which was a nightclub down on the Gold Coast. And I said, "Oh, I've just finished work. I'm in my work clothes." So I drove down, and they'd all had a few drinks, and I was totally sober. And I thought, "Oh, I'll come in and just have a quick dance and then go home and go to bed." And he was there, my husband, and I thought, "Oh, it's that guy from the emergency
Long
department."
eyelashes guy.
Yes, the lashes guy.
And we ended up dancing and singing the lyrics to Teenage Dirtbag.
Oh, cool.
And he, like where you do air guitar.
Do you know
and-
all the song, all the words?
All the words. I do.
Singing it at the top of your voice. I can see the scene right now.
And it was great. And I remember we went to the bar, and we were just standing there, and I was saying, "Oh, so where are you from, and how old are you?" And I was 26 at the time. He was 24, and he'd had a few drinks, and I said, he said, "Oh yeah, I'm 26." I said, "Oh, so you graduated then, and hold on, and you've done 1 year of, so how can you be 26? And he went, "Because I'm 24.
He wanted to be the same age, did he?
And I thought, "Oh, I really like you. You're honest and you're funny." And I think that was the first time, the relationship I'd had before, I'd always chosen like really good looking idiots. Just beefcakes
Yeah.
who looked good but weren't particularly
Not much between
nice
the ears.
or intelligent. And I remember thinking, this guy's really smart. He's really funny. And I thought, I'm worth more than what I've been choosing.
Wow.
And it was a bit of a revelation that I could choose someone like him who wasn't just who treated me. Maybe it was from my dad. I don't know.
Because you come out of a difficult relationship prior to that. Was that a long relationship?
It was 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, sometimes it can take a while to sort of pick yourself back up and be ready to meet Mr. Lashes.
It's funny you say that he tried to tell you that he was older than what he was.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I met Tony and I asked him how old he was, and he said, "How old would you like me to be?" And I was really confused by that. And I asked my brother, I said, "What does he mean?" Like, my brother's just like, yeah.
They kind of have a bit of a complex, don't they, men, if they're a bit younger?
Yeah.
So how long have you been married now?
20 years. 21 years. 21.
Wow.
Oh, hold on. We got married in 2002. So, yeah, 21 years.
Yeah.
22
Coming
this
up to
year.
It'll be 22,
Yes.
yeah, this year. My son's just turned 21. He was 2003. So,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's how I've worked it out.
Yeah.
You're,
Okay,
you're coming up to your 22nd. So you got 2 kids, a son and a daughter, is it?
Yeah.
So how old are your kids now?
So my son Noah is 17, just started year 12, and Rose, my daughter, is 14 in year 9.
Wow. And they've lived in Australia then all their life, have they?
Yeah, apart from my son, he moved here when he was 18 months.
Yeah.
So he still identifies as English.
Wow, okay.
To an extent. And I think he'd be keen to go and live over there at some point. He likes we just had 3 weeks over at Christmas.
Yeah.
And he loves it over there.
Wow. So you bring them all the way over here for a new life and they send them going back.
Yeah. And I have to remind myself that that's how I raise them I want them. The worst thing would be if they stayed and lived in Budrum and never went anywhere.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the worst thing. I mean, I wouldn't mind that, but I want them to go and be, and I think that's the heartbreaking thing about being a parent, because you think they don't need me anymore. I don't, when I was 20 and I went off, I didn't think of my mum every single day.
Yeah.
I just thought, there's other...
It's hard.
That's the
it is really hard.
sacrifice of being a parent.
It is.
You lose
And like
them
I have an only child. He's 21 now and looking at, going overseas. And it is that leaving, cleaving thing.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. And it comes around so fast as well. So obviously you and your husband are working professionals and like raising a family as well. There's a lot of pressures with that. How's that worked for you?
Really well, I think. I've always been I guess you'd say the go-to parent. That's been my passion. I wasn't really as an adult, I wasn't interested in babies or toddlers. So I was really pleasantly surprised. So when my son was born, I loved it.
Right.
I just loved it. And I loved every stage they went through, and I didn't work for as long as I didn't need to work for. And I've always been, so I want to do every school drop-off, every pick-up, even now, like he's in grade 12. Yeah. That's when you get those, those
car moments.
Yes.
And those car conversations, they're priceless.
Yeah.
Priceless.
So I will continue to work my life around that until they finish high
they
school.
go so far. Like those car conversations, I love to have them. I love to have them back because they are, to me, I think the most precious times when your kid's in high school is to have, you get the most information, particularly if you ask the right questions.
You have their full attention.
I know.
Unless you've got earbuds
You can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I've got you.
Yeah.
And when they've got the earbuds in, you just look at them and mouth words, so they have to take them out and say, now you're listening.
Yeah. That's a good trick.
Yeah.
So you obviously had quite a traumatic upbringing, and there was a lot, like your parents were separated. There would have been a lot for you to navigate as a young person. But it seems that your experience in marriage and raising your family is quite different from that. Have you been really intentional about making sure that didn't repeat for you? Did you look for certain qualities in your husband that you knew you didn't want to have? No,
not deliberately. And I think had my previous relationship not ended, so it ended with his best friend's girlfriend. He was having a relationship with his best friend's girlfriend, and the best friend told me about it. And I knew that it wasn't a great relationship, but I would not have ended it because I just was so disempowered. Wow. So had that not come to light, I probably would have just kept going and thought, well, I guess we should get married, and I guess we should, and found myself in, not a very nice relationship.
Situation, yeah.
And so, and I didn't decide what I was, I guess when I met my husband, I did think, oh, wow, I am worth more. But I don't think I deliberately went, right, this is what I'm going to choose. I think I was just really fortunate that he was a lovely guy, and when when you're younger, you think the really nice ones, it's boring. But then you want someone to treat you badly because it's more exciting, and it's like what you see on the movies. Yeah, and then you change though, don't you? Yeah, you think, no,
thankfully.
I really want a nice one.
So I noticed your sister's name all began with K as
know.
well.
We're like the Logan Kardashians.
Kimberly, Kerry, was it? And
Kelly and Kylie.
Kelly.
Oh.
But that gets confusing in the family, does it?
We loved it when we were growing up, but now I sort of look back and think, oh, why? And Mum used to always, she'd say, Kelly, Kimberly, and then we had 2 dogs called Puppy and Penny. And so then the dog's name, she'd go, Penny, oh, Kimberly, Kylie, Puppy, oh.
Yeah.
Who are you?
I don't think you have to have the same initial, though, for that to happen, because
Every mum does
But
it.
my sister's name's Debbie, and I'm Angela. I get called Debange all the time, or D'Angela.
I used to get called Matt. That's a bit of a concern.
Thankfully, I only have 1 kid, so I don't have that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do it with yours?
Sometimes I don't. It's whoever you were thinking about before you're calling the other child. So I'll be like going to call Jessie, but I'll call out Ben because I was just talking about thinking
Yeah.
about Ben. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
That's
has
what
your
I
mum
reckon.
remained in Australia? Has she remained on her own? Did she?
They never divorced.
Wow.
So, and I think he was the love of her life, and she just didn't want to have another relationship after that.
Yeah, and you still see your father, do you? Or?
He died when I was pregnant with my son.
Wow. Okay.
And it wasn't a big... The way it happened was a bit sort of traumatic, but the grieving process wasn't overly difficult because we were estranged, and he wasn't a particularly nice guy.
Yeah.
So, but it
So
was...
You'd have been in the UK, though,
I was.
I guess, when that happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've obviously now become a doctor. How long have you been like fully qualified working as a GP?
I passed my exams in 2004, so 20 years
Wow.
as a GP.
I bet you've seen some things in your time as a GP.
Yeah, and you learn that it's taught me so much, my job, learning that how someone presents, you never know what they're going to tell you in the consultation room.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity for anyone you have to appreciate that it's such a vulnerable moment. And sometimes I even sit in the chair. So I sit in my doctory chair and they sit in the patient chair. And even sitting in the patient chair, I think, oh, wow, I feel really vulnerable even sitting in this chair, and how you have to really respect that. And
Particularly if you've gone in for a pap smear.
yeah, most women.
That moment is horrible.
Yeah. And it's not until some patients get up, and my chairs are made of I guess it's a fake leather, and they'll have been talking to me and they'll leave, and the chair where they've been sitting is just drenched in sweat.
Yeah.
And I
wow.
think, wow, that was really hard for them.
Yeah.
Such an important relationship with GP. I have a great relationship with my GP, and we've been with her for many, many years, and she's seen me in my lowest times where I've been unwell. We couldn't figure out what was going on. It was a many-year process to actually finally get some answers. But she stuck with me through it and kept investigating, kept trying new things, and eventually we hit on what it was, and she's helped me to get well. And I think once you've been through a journey like that with your GP, like for me, she moved sort of out of my area, and I travel to go and see her because I'm like, we've built this relationship now, and they're almost, they almost become an extension of your family, really, because they are that go-to person.
And you have to really trust them, don't you?
Oh, 100%. Like, it's such an important relationship. What is the aspect of being a GP that, just brings you great joy?
I think the continuity of care, and I have some older patients, and I'll think, oh, I haven't seen so-and-so in a while. I hope she makes an appointment soon, or just to check in. And I really care about these people. And some of my friends go to those bulk billing clinics where you see whoever's around.
Yeah.
And I think that must be, I want to say, come to, I mean, I can't see them because they're my friends, but, it can be so much more. It's such a fulfilling relationship both ways. And I have some patients, and whenever I see them, I give them a hug at the end, the older ones, because I think a single older person probably doesn't get many opportunities for a hug these days.
Yeah. You might be the only
That's
conversation they
lovely.
have in their day
Yeah.
sometimes.
Maybe.
Yeah, because I see with my GP, like, she loves the whole thought of I'm investigating something. We're going to
Yes.
find this, to give me the
Yes.
assurance that she's going to stick with me and
Yeah.
not let me go until
Yeah.
we've got to the bottom of something. And I
Yes.
think that she kind of likes the excitement of
Yeah.
that as well.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, and then that gives me great confidence that we're going to hit it. We're going to hit it eventually, even if I have to do every test. We're going to hit it.
Yeah.
So I could see there'd be great fulfillment in that role. Is there anything else that you just love to do that you're really passionate about?
Exercise.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a fitness fanatic.
Okay. Like, what's the exercise for you?
So this year, because I'm turning 50, the year I turned 40, I ran a marathon just because I remember one of the mums, I think my daughter was 6 months old or 12 months old or something, and one of the mums had just run a half marathon. And I remember going, oh, wow, that's so amazing. And she went, you can do it.
Yeah.
I'm just a normal person. I just ran a bit further.
Yeah.
So I thought, maybe I could. So the following year I did a half marathon. And then I thought, when I turn 40, I'm going to try a marathon.
Oh, wow.
So I did it. I didn't feel the need to do another one. But this year I'm going to do a triathlon.
Wow.
I've never... Just to...
Which one, Noosa or?
Malulabar.
Yeah, okay.
So it's in 5 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks.
It's incredible. I'm always inspired by people that, do great sports like that. I've done a couple of half marathons myself, but keep saying, I just don't know if I'm going to ever be able to do a marathon.
Yeah.
So
You
I'm nearly
could.
fit. I'm
You
50
can do
next
it.
year.
You could, if I can do it. Like, I'm a normal
You did it at 40.
person.
I'm turning 50.
Never
yeah.
too late.
I know. I
Now's
only
the
just
time.
started doing halves 2 years
Yeah.
ago. So yeah, I'm doing another one in a couple of months' time.
That's great.
But it's a lot. Like it takes a lot of focus and like you've got to stick on your training schedule.
Yep.
How do you fit that in your life? You're raising 2 kids, assuming they're still living with you. You've got a full-time job.
I've just got really good boundaries.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about, that's the other thing I'm passionate about, is having boundaries. And in my work, I may have 1 or 2 patients that will disagree with this, but I never run late because I don't think if a GP runs late, it means they don't have good boundaries. And I think everyone's time is precious. So why should I keep someone waiting for 45 minutes in my waiting room?
Wow, this is so refreshing to hear. Your clinic is going to be full.
So I'm at capacity. I don't take any more patients because if I did...
You'd be running over.
And the girls book in... I've got a great reception staff.
Yeah.
They book in 1 every 15 minutes. And I don't run over. Because if I think, oh, this lady needs more time, then I might say, look, this is a bigger problem than we think it is. I'm going to book you a half-hour appointment next week and we'll go into more detail.
Yeah, great.
And so they still feel cared for, but my boundaries are in place because my priority is seeing the next patient on time.
Yeah.
So it's when people start saying, oh, can you just fit so-and-so in? Can you just fit? And, there's always going to be a really unwell child that needs to be fitted in, and then your afternoon just is a write-off because you've had to spend half an hour with a very sick child or someone's walked in with chest pain. So that kind of thing you just have to see. But for the most part, you honour that time commitment. And I guess it's sort of like parenting.
Yeah.
Where you have those firm boundaries with a child.
Yeah.
And I apply that to my job and with my life, I guess. Like I just have boundaries and I think, well, I need to, like this morning, my daughter needed to be dropped off at netball trials at 10 to 7. Then my son had to be dropped off at orchestra practice at 7:30. And I thought, well, tomorrow I need to do my run. So I just have to get up at 5:30, have my coffee, go for my run, back, drop off. So just having those firm boundaries And then so this afternoon I'm totally free. So when I'm dropping off someone at basketball, then volleyball, then musical theatre, I have 2 hours in between of downtime.
So what is downtime for you? What do you fill it? Do you fill it with anything?
I love reading. I love reading novels, and so daggy. I like doing jigsaws, and I just finished my jigsaw last night. Thought, I don't know if I should say because it's so daggy.
I love it.
Hey, you're nearly 50. Jigsaws are cool.
I also love my husband and I. We don't do it as much as I'd like, but we like if there's a good series on. We watch Succession on Netflix. or whatever it was on.
Yeah.
So just sometimes sitting down and watching. We'll just watch one episode. We don't binge watch because...
See, there's boundaries again.
Yeah.
I can't ever just do one.
We're big on delaying the gratification in our house.
I
as
like
well.
those little mini series like where there's 8 episodes and I can watch it all in like
Yes.
1 or 2 nights and I'm done.
So then you've got nothing to look forward to.
Yeah, but I try not to get into series because then it will just keep me bound to it
Okay.
all the way through. So I'm just thinking I'd rather not start or I'll get it over and done with and then...
I was going to ask you, like, one of your biggest challenges in your life was your dad's situation and moving to Australia.
Yeah.
Since living in Australia, in your later part of your life, what would you say one of the biggest challenges would have been since living over here?
Probably having a husband who is from England with all his family there.
Yeah.
And me being from Australia. I think that's probably been the biggest challenge, because what seemed so appealing when we were younger and we just had a 1-year-old, as I think my husband has found as we get older and being away from aging parents, siblings, if my parents-in-law listen to this, I hope they forgive me for saying aging parents. But, you know, as illness comes with age, wanting to be there to be supportive.
Yeah.
And I think as a couple with different, I don't want to say priorities, because I love his family as well, but for him, having his family so far away, which was just exacerbated during COVID when we literally could not go if we had to. I think that's been a big challenge. And for me, carrying, even though I'm fully confident that we both made the decision to live in Australia when our son was 1, when we thought, no, we want to live there because it's great life, we can go to the beach and it's warm and blah, blah, blah. If he wouldn't live here if it wasn't for me.
Yeah, yeah.
So
there'd be like a
feeling
bit
responsible for that.
Yeah, and you feel torn between the two countries, I guess, and where each one is wanting to be, really.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
I understand that because I'm from the UK as well, and my parents and all my siblings live over there, and so you kind of feel like you're in this limit, like you're living between two different countries, with a massive big gap in between, and so I have to keep going over to see my parents, or they'll come over, but they're aging, and so I know there'll come a point where they won't be able to travel, and the responsibility really is on you to make the effort to go. And
how do you navigate that between as a couple? How do you, because you're saying you feel responsible in a way for the decision to be here, even though you both made the decision. How do you work that through together?
It's very difficult because both of us aren't great communicators with each other, and we're both very avoidant of conflict. But it made me real. I'd always felt responsible for, I think because of my upbringing, because Mum walked on eggshells around Dad. So if my husband was upset about something, if he had a bad day at work, if he, I don't know, anything that can, I think about things that upset me. Someone takes my park at Woolies. I want to make bolognese and there's no mince and I thought I had mince, or something more significant. You just sort of feel a bit sad or angry or moody. And so anything that was happening in his life, I would look at and think, oh, he's sad or he's upset or he's angry. What have I done?
Yeah.
And during that period, I thought, if he was sad or angry about anything, I think, oh, it's because I'm making him live in this country and it's my fault. And it made me realise over time that that was not helpful.
Because so it's like false guilt.
Yes. And even if deep down that was how he was feeling, there was nothing I could do about that. And it wasn't my fault because he's an adult and he's...
Did you come to that realisation having travelled through that year and tossing with those emotions?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
I came to that realisation myself.
That you didn't have to carry it.
Yes.
Right.
And I thought, I can be supportive because if I feel sad or upset, I would hate if he was sad and upset alongside me because he felt so bad for me that I want him just to be normal Johnny and just go, oh, that sucks, or oh, never mind, or give me a hug, or and just be himself.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm not gaining anything from this continual feeling of it's not helpful to our relationship.
Did you find that, Ange, like when you moved over, did you feel like you were torn between the two countries because you had your family?
I don't know. I think for me, my family, we've got the ability to travel. And, you know, my father, for instance, will come over a couple of times a year. My mum's over a couple of times a year. So to me, the world feels like a small place. And I already have some family over here. So it's never like we came and didn't really look back. I am at the stage now where parents are getting older and perhaps not as able as they used to be, even though I'm still very blessed in the fact that they can still travel. My mum was out a few months ago. But I know I'm coming to that time where perhaps their visits will be less and less. And so we're going to have to make the effort. But I also know I've got siblings that live just up the road from my mum, for instance. And so that my mum is supported. I don't feel like she's unsupported by us not being there. So I don't necessarily have the dynamics that you're talking about. But I guess as my mum in particular gets older, maybe I will feel the pressure to make more frequent visits home.
So, Ange, do you think we're ready for some gold?
Yes, I'm ready. Kimberly, as I hear about your life and in particular, like some of the difficulties and challenges around your upbringing, you know, there would have been moments where you'd have felt quite abandoned. You would have felt very fearful or uncertain about the environment in which you were brought up in. And I'm sure there were love and fun and good moments in there. But the things that you needed as a child, as stability and, you know, love and assurance in your family, perhaps weren't there fully for you. And I think often that can really stunt people as they move forward into their future. But what I love hearing about you is that you've been so intentional, particularly with your family, to bring stability. You know, as you said, you wanted your kids to be in the one country and to put that into your children's lives, and they're still at home with you. And I think you haven't yet seen the fruit of what that will do for your kids. You're yet to see the rewards of that. But I think that's an incredible thing that you've done that, because really your background and your upbringing would have perhaps taken you in a different direction. And the fact that you've been so disciplined and so structured in your life to bring balance. Because I kind of threw you a question, what do you do when you've got nothing to do? And you know what it is to rest. You know what it is to have you time. And a lot of people don't do that. You know, a lot of people are running through life. They're going to jobs. They're doing stuff for their kids. They don't take that time to have you time. But you said you were reading in that. And that shows to me that you live a very balanced life and you've been really purposeful in that. And I love that. And I think there's so many wonderful things that we can learn through that. But the thing I really loved most about you, Kimberly, is how much you love what you do. It brought you to life. When I asked you about your job as a GP, you just shone. Your face just lit up because you love to make life better for other people. And that is such a beautiful thing. And I think that's going to bring you great rewards and blessings in your life as you continue to do that. So, yeah, there's so much gold there. And I really wish you so well with this challenge of, do we stay in Australia? What do we about the family in the UK and all those challenges of living in 2 different locations, you know? And I hope is that you can work those things out as you as your parents are aging and or your in-laws are aging, and that, you know, I know that you're going to find a solution because you seem to have done that throughout the rest of your life. So.
Thank you for that feedback.
No worries.
I don't often have the opportunity to get feedback, so it's really special.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you for being with us today. It was really lovely to hear from you. And we'll try and hold off all the hordes that will sign up into your practice.
Oh, yes. I was thinking about it, but no.
She's full. The books are full. The books are full.
I have a great GP too.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
No worries.
So that's it for today's podcast. You'll find us on all the major podcast platforms. The podcasts come out every Wednesday. We'd love to hear from you on our socials, the Gold Diggers Podcast. Tell us about your story so we can find the gold in you.
Easy as pie, lemon, apple or cherry. Loving you is so very sweet, sweet, sweet. How can it be such a piece of cake? And your smile is the icing. Loving you is a party. Honey, you're my sugar.